My name is Jazz Erenberg. I'm a local Baltimore community artist, mostly a painter, but generally public art and space making.
Okay. So I see you have these things that call the mood trackers.
Hmm.
What sparked that idea?
That was something I tried as a coping mechanism at the beginning of the pandemic when everything went to shit. So it was something that I just needed something to ground me, and so being able to look back and see why I had bad days, when I had bad days, I think was just grounding enough for me to start a routine. So that was really just the beginning of me building a routine for myself as a full-time artist.
Okay. So your style is more so like line work, I would say, like the constant keep your pencil on the paper, then you
Yeah.
draw it out. What influenced that style for you?
I've always been interested in art that speaks about its process, and that's kind of like all in one, right? You can watch it happen, you can follow it with your eyes, and so it's kind of about the process of making it. And I think I just generally gravitate towards art that shows a little bit of its secret.
Okay. So you're Afro Latina, right?
Yes.
Cool. How does that impact your artistry or like making art?
Well, the focus is generally brown women. I think so. I didn't necessarily grow. I didn't grow up in a black household. I grew up in a Jewish household,
Okay.
and so moving to Baltimore kind of was the beginning of me building a relationship with my blackness, with my brownness. So the art that I make through that, I think, is really just a gateway into me exploring what that means for me, because it's not necessarily something I grew up embedded in the culture. So it's, I guess, maybe a metaphor of my journey and figuring out what that looks like for me.
Okay. So with your pieces, it's like a bunch of different colors, but they all just work together so well. How do you decide, like, okay, I'm putting this one together? Like,
So there's a couple different things that I do. Normally, I'm obsessed with color theory, so that's one of the things that just like I generally have a good base of color theory to know kind of what goes together. I work a lot with just a general technique of a color wheel, the relationship between colors, stuff like that. I'm also a teacher, so generally like I'm into the technical things of how to mix paint and stuff like that. But a secret that I kind of found when I was looking for inspiration was, what are they called? They're called, I think, like sight pattern charts.
Okay.
Where a group of people will be shown just a bunch of swatches, right? And something follows their eye path and what color they look at the most, right? And generally those colors tend to be warmer colors. Mm-hmm. So usually I start with a warm palette and then I'll add kind of usually greens or blues. It's interesting, like my art is super colorful, but if you actually look at it, it's a base of like maybe 3 colors.
Okay. So with I would say with artists in general, we like tend to create pieces in the moment that we're in. So like if we just like lost our house, like we creating like either pieces that are like speaking on like that weird moment or like speaking past that moment. Out of like the new pieces that you dropped recently, which one of those pieces speak to like a moment that was like happening while you were creating it?
I think so. I've been kind of designing a public mural, kind of just a personal project, but it's very like steeped in just our reality today. So I think a lot of the color work that I do is conceptually kind of speaking to the light in Black joy that we're having trouble kind of navigating. Mm-hmm. So I think the colors that I use generally speak to Black joy, and then the lines or the content speak more towards maybe they're more pointed. I'm working on some text-based pieces right now, so that's also generally the tagline is Protect Black Futures.
Okay.
So.
How does being an artist impacts being an educator and being an educator impacts your artistry?
Lately, I've been seeing it like day to day. Like we'll do a project in class that has to do with cardboard and using cardboard and different kind of materials to paint with, and then I'll experience something while painting with my students, and that feeling kind of stayed with me, especially for painting in different mediums. So lately it's been like directly like we'll do a project in class, Miss Jazz will do the same thing in one of her projects.
Okay. What is one place you would love to do a mural, and what would the mural be?
Okay, so let's talk about my passion project right now. So I'm working on Protect Bog Futures public mural. I'm looking for a wall currently for that. I think that it's hard in Baltimore kind of to choose a neighborhood at this point. I think to make a real impact, this project would be multiple murals.
Okay.
Kind of spread throughout. One of the things that Baltimore has taught me is that there are really tight-knit communities, but there's a lot of space between those communities. And I've found my kind of happy place as an artist in Baltimore is connecting those communities and doing pieces that are physically in connecting areas, but also generally have an empathy-building aspect.
Okay. What is one thing you would say you consistently like preach to your scholars?
If you think you messed up, you probably didn't.
Okay. Okay.
I get a lot of, the question I hate the most is, can I start over? And I just, like, it's so much more interesting to work through the mistakes that you've made.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than just starting over. So I think generally that's something that I also preach to myself when I practice.
Okay. What's one thing you wish you knew at the beginning of your art journey?
There's no one path.
Okay. That's simple. But
Yeah.
Deep.
Yeah.
But deep. Okay. What would you say is your favorite color to use between like all your pieces?
I've been working with the sweet spot between red and pink right now.
Okay.
So mix them together, you get kind of something really bright. It's not necessarily a deep red, but it's a very vibrant red, and that is really my favorite color.
How do you brand yourself?
How do I what?
Brand yourself.
Brand. Community artist, I would say. Nice and short and sweet. Other than that, I would also say urban interventionist. I think that's kind of the title that I give to some of the work that I do publicly, because I think all public work should be the starting place of a discussion between communities.
Okay. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment thus far?
I think just generally deciding that I could do this full time.
Okay.
Like that's a huge step. I just recently took it. Not currently living that life. I'm doing double time right now, but that's the first step. So.
Okay. Last question. As far as the feedback from the coloring book that you did, which probably like top 3 pictures or pieces you received that made you really think like this project is really hitting home, like it's really doing what it's supposed to do?
I think one of the things, and I guess I feel like I should have expected this, but one of the things that really like made it feel like you were in another person's home is when they would show their pets. I know it's like really simple, but it's it's like a daily life thing that you don't really think about. I also got a submission from people who live in a van.
Okay.
So just generally, like being able to see different perspectives, I think that's another thing I really do as an artist is collect perspectives. I think when you only work from your perspective, well, you can only work from your perspective, right? But other perspectives can definitely influence how you put that out in the world.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.